This is the athlete's hierarchy of needs. The athlete's hierarchy of needs allows you and your client to know where you are, what you're, sorry about that triangle, you guys will get over it, and what you're prioritizing and why you're doing it so that no one's confused or misunderstanding the decisions that you're making. We're not throwing stuff on the wall to see if it sticks. Why are we making the decisions that we're making? When you draw this for your clients, do it better than this triangle. Just draw a solid triangle. The base of the pyramid is your recovery and your capacity balance. Why is the base of the pyramid how recovered you are and where you are with respect to what your capacity is? Why is that the base?
You show up and feel like shit, more than likely the rest of you are going to follow.
You can't out-train 4 hours of sleep. If someone comes in and they said, and you have high intensity work or high skill or high coordination work, and they come in and they say, I'm hungover and I slept 4 hours, go take a walk. Go leave. Or just, you're doing 35 minutes on a bike at like 3 out of 10 effort. And then you're going to work on how to breathe. You can't do more than you've become recovered to. So, everyone here heard of the SAID principle, specific adaptation to imposed demands, general adaptation? If this is your baseline, when you work out, you're immediately in worse shape than you were before the workout. You're in worse shape immediately after workout than you were before. And if you're not sure about that, go do the exact same workout at the exact same intensity right now. Tell me if you did better or worse than the first time around. You're going to do worse. I promise you're going to do worse. If you recover effectively, you're going to be better than before you did the workout. Depending on the kind of workout you did and how adapted you are as an athlete, that'll take anywhere from a day to 10 days. If you work out again, you're going to be in worse shape. And if you recover well again, you're going to be in better shape. What many people are doing, especially people who do like the high intensity group functional fitness thing, is they get in worse shape, they partially recover, and they train again. And they partially recover, and they train again. And they're getting more fit for the task, and they're getting less healthy as a person. You follow me there? So we need to make sure that we're recovered in order to build. If you're not in a state of build-up mode, you're going to lose. Next, once this is checked out, they're eating, they're drinking, they're sleeping, they're relaxed as can be, they have positive social relationships, they feel supported. We can move forward. I don't really care how the world defines it at large. I'm going to give you guys what we see as a very flexibility, as a very practical definition of this. For our sake, I want us to be thinking about defining flexibility as passive range of motion for now. What that means is, how far can something go before it doesn't want to go anymore? Take your index finger and pull it back as far as you can. The tissues in the front of your finger are this flexible. That's how far, because if you're deciding you want to stop, you're like, that's the longest they should stretch before they healthfully are okay and don't have a problem. This is gravity. This is gravity or an external force. So it's either gravity moving you into a position or something or someone else moving you into a position. If Joe lies on his back and I take his heel and I straighten his leg as far towards his head as possible, before he wants to punch me in the face and say, okay, stop, 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 that's how flexible the tissues are on the backside of his leg. Make sense? Okay. We have very, very clear lines in the sand that we are all going to use in 10 minutes or so around how much flexibility is enough. There's a lot of debate around, can you ever be too flexible? I don't know, maybe not. However, we have to think about how much time we have in the day and what's important to us to be able to be and do and have. I don't care about being an elite ballerina, so I do not ever need to be able to split. I want to be able to sprint and surf and be able to punch people in the face and play basketball well. I do not need that much flexibility. So what we can ask ourselves is, how much flexibility does this person actually need for their life? What do you want to be able to do? Garden. All right, how much flexibility, what ranges of motion do we need for that? Do you have those ranges of motion or do you not? Let's get you those range of motions and maybe a little bit more as a buffer. Not much more. Has anyone here ever worked with someone who has been like a devout yoga practitioner? Hardest person I've ever had to fix. I don't like using that word, but we're all adults here, it's fine. It's really hard because they have way more flexibility than they need for most of their life, and then they're just like baby giraffes trying to fill in the rest of what they need to control. All right, so we check all the boxes in flexibility. You're gonna have it or you don't. The next thing we're gonna look at is what we're gonna define here as mobility. If flexibility is your passive range of motion, we're going to define mobility as your active range of motion. So everyone remember how far back you pulled your finger? Try to pull it back without help as far as you did when you pulled it with help. It's not going to go as far. Thank you for being the only one to do it. I appreciate that. Love you, bud. What's up, stud? So here's the deal. We were just talking about yogis as an example. When we have a very large discrepancy between the absolute availability of a tissue to go through a certain length, and then we have less strength and control in that range of motion than the person has range of motion, we're talking about a degree of risk. So if a tissue can stretch this far and a person controls it to here, what happens if they get into this range of motion? Now we're talking about crashing into the end of range of motion of a joint. Do you guys follow that? Okay. To give a very crude example, this is someone who has control 3/4 of the way down a squat. The bottom quarter of their squat, it's always a crash. They can't get in with control, they can't get out with any strength. They have to bounce out of it if they want to get out of the bottom. You guys got a picture of that? Okay. We're never going to have more mobility than we do flexibility. In an ideal world, we can close this gap. So let's say we say, all right, the person's eating, sleeping, drinking, they're behaving like a normal person. They have all the range of motion they need to do their lives well. And they can control the ranges of motion to a degree that's important in their lives. The next thing we're going to look at is what we'll call strength balance. Most, if not all of you, already address this stuff to some degree. I want to make sure you know what it is here. All strength balance means is there are true relationships that happen between exercises that our bodies should be better at than worse at. So for example, someone has a 400-pound front squat and a 200-pound deadlift. Good or problem? Why is that a problem? Because what?
Should be able to deadlift more.
I would agree with that. If you're amazing at loading your knees and you're horrible at loading your butt and your low back and hamstrings, you might run into a problem. So we want to know that those relationships are a little closer. An even easier way to talk about it is there are things that your body's good at already, and there are things that your body sucks at. If you're facing a problem or a performance limitation, the easiest thing to look at is the low-hanging fruit of what are you not good at? Where are your deficits? Feed those. You guys follow me there? If someone can farm or carry 100 pounds for 100 meters on the right side, and they can farm or carry 50 pounds for 50 meters on the left side, it's a problem. Feed the deficit. Last, once this checks out, and we don't need 100, we just need to know that it's about 85%, we can start to look at skill. Skill is what you guys in here are doing in particular. Don't do it like this. Put it right there. Perfect. Just like that. The reason that we don't rush to look at skill is if we don't know that someone doesn't have any range of motion in their ankle, and we ask them to do a complex movement that involves a lot of ankle range of motion, and it looks bad, we're guessing about why without knowing that, well, they didn't have what it took to do it well in the first place.